Hello, I'm Anjidu, and I'm going to be reading Spellfall by Katherine Roberts. This would be the first chapter, The Spellbank. Saturday morning, October 24th. Natalie saw the first spell in the supermarket parking lot. It was floating in a puddle near the recycling bins, glimmering bronze and green in the October drizzle. At first, she thought it was a leaf, though, as she drew closer, it began to look more like a crumpled candy wrapper. A very interesting candy wrapper. Pick me up, it seemed to say, glittering intriguingly. Surely I'm worth a closer look. She shook her head and hurried past. She was wet and cold and had more things to worry about than picking up someone else's litter. But the trap had been baited, by one who knew a lot more about spells than she did. Before she knew what she was doing, she put down her chinking shopping bags and gone back for it. As her hand closed around the wrapper, a voice behind her whispered, "Innocent enough to crawl through the thrallstone." Natalie pushed her glasses up on her nose and stared around uneasily. Anyone close enough to have spoken to her was either hurrying to their cars with a loaded shopping cart or still driving in circles like her stepmother and stepbrother, looking for a place to park. "Who's there?" she said sharply. Rain danced on the metal roofs of the bins. No answer. Skin prickling, Natalie stared across the wetlands at the wooded slopes beyond. The parking lot was on the edge of town, and the recycling bins were in the corner farthest from the supermarket. This might have seemed bad planning for an eco-friendly development like Millennium Green, except the original plans showed a housing subdivision was to have been built on the meadows. The official excuse was that the floods would cost too much to divert. But everyone at Natalie's school knew the truth. People didn't want to live in the shadow of Unicorn Wood because it was haunted. "Tim?" she called more sharply. "Is that you? Stop messing around." Still no answer. She shook her head, feeling foolish. It probably wasn't her stepbrother anyway. He had stayed in the car so he wouldn't get his new jacket wet. He was sulking because his mother had insisted he help with the shopping, and Tim never liked giving up a moment of his Saturdays to help with anything. It wasn't really Natalie's turn to recycle the bottles. She'd done it last week, and the week before that. But when Tim had started on his usual argument, "It's your dad who drank 'em all, not mine," she'd volunteer in order to avoid the inevitable shouting match. She looked more closely at the wrapper. It had a warm, waxy feel. Raindrops shimmered on its surface. The color shifted eerily, like a hologram. She changed her mind about putting it in the nearest bin, and instead stuffed it into her windbreaker pocket, which was where she kept things she didn't want other people to see. The pocket was already occupied by her spider, Itsy, but one of the advantages of having a spider as a pet was that they didn't take up much space, even in a matchbox. She retrieved the shopping bag and hurried to the bottle bank. After a quick look around to check that no one was watching, she fed the empty beer bottles into the brown hole as rapidly as possible. She was small for her 12 years, so she had to stand on her tiptoes to reach. Her hood fell down, her ponytail worked its way out in a silvery froth, and drops from the top of the bin went down her neck. But she didn't pause to cover herself. The crashes echoing inside made her cringe. As always, she imagined everyone in the parking lot counting under their breath. 76, 77, 78. "Two less than last week, Itsy," she whispered in relief to the spider as the final bottle tinkled to the bottom of the bin. Her stomach was just beginning to unknot itself when the same voice said, "Could you read this sign for me, my dear?" The prickling sensation returned, twice as strongly. This time a figure was lurking in the shadow of one of the bins, watching her. An old man, she decided. He leaned on a strange stick, with its handle carved into the head of a bird. Rain dripped off the brim of a battered hat and darkened a scarf that hid most of his face. Then he took a step toward her, and shimmered. There was no other word for it. For a moment, the old man grew erect and tall, with a hooked nose, flowing black hair, and piercing yellow eyes. While Natalie stared, suspecting the raindrops on her glasses of distorting what she saw, he gave her a long, disconcerted stare in return. Then he was old again, shuffling forward. The hat pulled down to hide those strange eyes. "Can't see as well as I used to," he explained. Natalie relaxed slightly. No doubt he'd been there all along, camouflaged by the bad light and the dark color of the bin. His hands trembled, and she couldn't help feeling sorry for someone whose eyes were worse than hers. Then she remembered that he must have watched her putting her dad's bottles into the recycling bin and heard her talking to Itsy. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. Quickly, she examined the bin he'd been hiding behind. She didn't remember seeing it last week, but the town was always adding new ones. First it had been bottles, then cans, then paper, then plastic, then clothes. She looked curiously at the new one. At first, there didn't seem to be any sign on it, but after a moment she spotted some curly silver letters at the very bottom. As she crouched to see better, they shimmered into focus. Spellbank. Just that. No instructions, explanations, or list of what should or shouldn't be put into the bin. Natalie frowned. Spellbank? A shiver ran down her spine before she remembered that they sold silver spray paint at the garage on the corner. She turned back to the old man. I can't see a sign. It must have come off. Vandals. I'm sorry. She waved vaguely at the graffiti, then wondered why she was apologizing. The stick whipped out and its handle encircled her elbow. You can't hide it, you know, hissed the man. Natalie's stomach fluttered. His voice wasn't quavery anymore. It was strong, menacing almost. Maybe he was an undercover security guard. They had them inside watching for shoplifters. Why not in the parking lot, watching for car thieves and vandals? It wasn't me, she said quickly. The man chuckled. What are you afraid of? That I'll tell on you? You and I are of the same blood, the ancient blood that sees what men do not. That's why I asked you to read the sign for me. It was a test, which you passed, by the way. Most people can't see the spellbank at all. Natalie blinked. Obviously he was crazy. Excuse me, she said firmly, extracting her arm from his stick. Julie, my stepmother is waiting for me over there. She pointed to the supermarket doors, which suddenly seemed very far away, and stepped between two cars. The stick swung around so fast she barely saw it move. Careful, said the man, hooking her back by the other elbow. You'll get yourself run over. I'd hate for anything to happen to one who shows such promise. Let go of me! Natalie's heart pounded. I'll scream! Just looking out for you. All those windshields steaming up like they are, people won't see you until it's too late. And you won't want your little familiar to get hurt, would you? What did you call him? Itzy? Can I see him? No! Which was being rude, she knew. But the way she saw it, the old man had been rude to her first. She made another try for the traffic, only to be tugged back again. Tut-tut, in such a hurry, and you haven't even asked me about the spell yet. Aren't you curious to know what it can do? He gave her a little smile that chilled her more than anything that he'd done so far. With more difficulty than the last time, Natalie disentangled herself. The bird's head handle of the cane had a curved beak that dug into her elbow, and its horrible little eyes were bright yellow, just like its owners. Leave me alone, she said. I have no clue what you're talking about. Is that so? I saw you pick it up. His tone hardened. Let's stop pretending, shall we? I want you to join my spellclave. You know exactly what I mean, or you wouldn't have been able to see the spell in the first place. I left it for you as part of a test, and now I want it back. He opened his hand and waggled his fingers. He means the wrapper, Natalie realized with relief. She felt in her pocket and almost let him have the thing, but something stopped her. Suddenly, she was angry with the whole wet, miserable world. With Tim for pretending it was her turn to do the bottles. With Julie for letting him get away with it. With Dad for drinking so much beer. With the rain for ruining her school vacation. She was especially angry with the crazy old man for scaring her so much. She set her jaw. You shouldn't litter, she said. It's your own fault you've lost it. Whatever it is. And if you touch me again, I'll call the police. He glared at her from under his dripping hat and said in a hard voice, You'll be sorry you didn't join us willingly. Now give me back my spell! His stick slammed into the side of the bin, trapping Natalie's ponytail. The clang vibrated through her entire body, almost stopping her heart. Before the echoes had died away, she dived into the traffic. There wasn't time to look one way, let alone both. Brakes squealed, drivers blared their horns, cars swerved. There was a loud crunch behind her, followed by the tinkle of breaking glass. Stupid kid, someone yelled. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Natalie ran faster, one hand in her pocket to stop Itzy's box from bouncing out. Don't look back, she told herself firmly. Whatever happens, don't look back. Behind her, the old man grew erect and tall, loosened his scarf, and tapped his stick against the curb. Narrow yellow eyes watched his prey flee into the supermarket, while all around him, the drivers involved in the accident argued. You drove straight into me, sobbed a woman. Look at my car. My husband's going to kill me. My windows were steamed up, said another. I didn't see you. At least no one was hurt, said a third, which is a miracle if you ask me. Eventually someone thought to ask, Where's the old man? There was an old man and a girl. And people started to peer through the rain. But by this time, the recycling bins were deserted. No one could say which way the man had gone.